Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World for the first preview of the season. The season is here. I cannot tell you how excited I am just for the championship to be back. In my opinion, the absolute best league in the world for entertainment, competition, aggression, just everything, passion. It's what football is. It's the closest thing to what football was growing up in the sort of higher echelons of football, at least. It's the only thing we got left in terms of that side of things. But look, I am extremely excited about it. Everybody who's watched recently will know I'm very optimistic about Cardiff season. I don't think we're quite up there to compete with the likes of Leeds in terms of squad quality, but I think we've built a nice little squad, or we've improved our squad over the summer. Certainly got a better squad than we finished the last game with, but there's still work to be done. We need to get a couple out, couple in. But we talk about tomorrow, as it were. New faces, same challenges. Can the Bluebirds kick off with a bang? As is tradition with these preview shows, preview videos, we start with the opposition. Sunderland, look, they're a good side. They've got some real good players. They've got some weaknesses, which I feel that Cardiff can try to exploit. I don't think that's a particular, that's not a secret in terms of what we're going to try and do. They will look at us and see weaknesses that they can try and target. But what we like to do in the previews, if you haven't seen them before, was we kind of predict what we think the Sunderland team will be generally. Obviously, we're never quite spot on because we don't know the ins and outs of the opposition as well as we know Cardiff. And then we'll kind of look at the way they play, where we think we can get at them, where they may cause us trouble, and so on. So, as I say, very excited. Sunderland, a good side. But I watched the one preseason game. I watched the majority of it that they played, and I saw some highlights of some of their other games. And defensively, they look a bit shaky. They got a couple of young lads playing at centre back, most likely, but they've also got some experience elsewhere in the team that I think, look, if they're at the top of their game still, they're going to be difficult to beat. But I think first game of the season always throws up some odd results. So as a football club, you've got to try to make sure that you're not one of those teams that suffers, home defeat in your first game of the season. I had a conversation with someone earlier with regards to Cardiff, and I think these early games for Cardiff are a real opportunity to kind of show what we're about and show what we've changed from last year. Because, look, as much as you can say Bullet set a good foundation in his first season, and now we're going to build on it and we're bringing in better quality players, I think you've also got to accept that from Christmas onwards was pretty brutal to watch at times, and it was quite poor at times. Some of that was, you could say, squad selections and team selections and a bit of stubbornness in there. Some of that was maybe not having the quality to play the way he wanted to. I accept that. But also, someone made a real good point in the comments the other day where I was talking about Matt McGuinness, and I stand by. I do feel that when he got injured, we suffered in terms of how we were playing, but we were already relatively poor before that. So it wasn't a case of Matt McGuinness's injury and then it all fell apart. We had kind of had a rocky spell coming into Christmas. We'd had a rocky spell just after that. We kind of were getting back, and then it was this. It was very up and down. Obviously, one of the big losses was Aaron Ramsey, and I think any club is going to miss a player of that quality. It's just a simple fact. But what you have to accept is that now we have some quality in other areas. Unfortunately, I think it's very unlikely that we see all of those players tomorrow feature. I think probably only two of them have got a chance of starting. Maybe Robertson has got a slim chance of starting, and Bullett's playing a few mind games, shall we say, because I did hear that he's a bit fitter than perhaps we're led to believe. However, I don't really expect him to start. But we'll talk about the Cardiff lineup, a bit later on. Sunderland tend to line up in a 4-2-3-1, which, that kind of mirrors Cardiff's formation usually, although we did drop a video yesterday asking the question, is Errol Bullock maybe cooking up a slight alternative formation for certain scenarios? I don't think this will be one of them. I expect both teams to play, their usual 4-2-3-1. I think Sunderland will line up something like this, but bear with me. Obviously, I'm not as familiar with their injuries and stuff like that. But the big danger man, who I'll talk about in a minute, for me, Joby Bellingham caused us all sorts of issues last year, and he was my man to watch in that game. And I said that we couldn't give him space and we couldn't allow him to create, and we gave him a lot of space. But I actually think the person who's potentially can cause Cardiff the most issues is Jack Clark. Jack Clark's a real footballer, and I'm kind of surprised that he's still there. I felt like he might be sold, but look, you can't fault them. They've held on to him, so good for them. In terms of Sunderland, I think will line up something like this, give or take maybe one or two. I think they go with Patterson in goal, but they also have Bishop who they can play there. Defensively, then they've got a couple of younger players who they've been playing in pre-season, so it's a bit difficult to predict. I'm going to go with Hume, O'Nien, Alice, and Sirkin, with then Neil and Brown as a 2, Bellingham, Roberts, Clark, and then Mayenda. I think Joe Bellingham might play as like a false 9, with Mayenda sort of just behind, with Clark and Roberts on the wing. But there's a bit of versatility there for them, and they'll probably interchange a little bit, which could be a potential issue for Cardiff to watch and where they may struggle. And like Rob has just said in the comments there, Jack Clark should be in the Premier League, and I believe that's exactly the case. He's a very good footballer, and this is actually one of the reasons why when we get to the Cardiff side, I wouldn't just chuck in like a Kay Pacquiao or a Louis Giles or someone like this at left back, because I think it's going to be a long day for the left back, and it's probably why I wouldn't go with O'Dowda or Tanner there either. But we'll talk about that in just a second. Sunderland, they play decent football, and they've got some real good players. I think Siopis is going to have to be the guy, and he did it at the start of last year, and he did it at the end of last year, and he's done it. Obviously, he hasn't played a great deal in pre-season, really, but he's going to have to do a job on Joby Bellingham, in my opinion. He needs to close that space. When Joe Bellingham drops in and tries to pull the centre-backs out with him into that sort of half space in the number 10 area, that's where we need Siopis to be stopping the balls, get to him, closing him down. Don't give him time to turn. Don't give him time to create. But it's going to be look, Sunderland going forward have players that can do a lot of damage to Cardiff City, and they play good football. But I look at it in the middle of the park, and I think it's quite interesting. Some interesting battles there. Brown, former Preston captain, incredibly experienced. He's decent on his day. Has he got the legs to compete with Siopis? I'm not sure. But then we've got Rawls and Ramsey in there, maybe. So it's going to be interesting. If we had Robertson in there, a fit Robertson, I would fancy us to dominate that midfield, because I think his exuberance and his legs, his quality on the ball would really probably be a bit too much for Brown. But look, Brown's a decent player. Like I say, Bellingham. Clark is going to be the danger man. Off the right, can drift inside, can go on the outside. Very creative, scores goals. So Cardiff will need to be switched on. In terms of where Cardiff go, what sort of side do we think we're going to play? It's difficult to predict. El Ghazi's not going to be there, I don't think. I don't even think he's going to be. I think he would have been on the bench for a short cameo, but I believe he's gone back to Holland because his partner's pregnant. So best wishes to him. Obviously, I'm not sure if he's going to be around for the game. In terms of starting 11 for Cardiff, we go with what we think the manager's going to do as opposed to what we would do for these preview shows. So I think he goes Halveth. I think he goes Chambers and Gutas, because I think McGuinness is not 100% fit. I think left back will be Perry NG. And then right back is the one that's really interesting because look, if Mark McGuinness is fit, and I'm not sure if he is, I think the manager will go McGuinness, Kutas in the middle, Chambers right back, NG left back, because I think that gives you the most experience, out and out defenders, all good defenders as well, good defensively, to front up against what is a potential dangerous few players, particularly in Bellingham and Clark's case. So I actually am going to go Perry NG left, Callum Chambers right, McGuinness and Kutas. I don't know if McGuinness is fit. And then I think the manager will go something like this. I think Siopis is obviously nailed on, going to be the defensive midfielder. Aaron Ramsey will be in the 10. I think he goes with the wingers of O'Dowda and Willock. I think Willock might play off the right, potentially. And again, not what I would. I'm not saying this is what I would pick, but this is what I think the manager will pick. I think O'Dowda will give NG help on the left. He's left-footed, which will help out with Clark. I think Willock, the same, will give Chambers a bit of help down the right as well. Ramsey in the 10. I think up front, Callum Robertson, and I think he absolutely deserves to get that first start of the season and hopefully can hit the ground running and get some goals, continue his preseason form. Most importantly, his preseason work rate and attitude. I want to see that in these games because I feel if we have this version of Callum Robinson, then he's a real problem for any team we come up against. So I'm excited to see it. And then you'll notice I left out that number 8 spot. Who's going to play alongside Siopis? So I expect it to be Joe Rawls because Robertson is not quite match fit. I expect that. That's what the manager said in his press conference, that Robertson will probably come off the bench, but he's probably not fit enough to start. However, I had a conversation with someone earlier, just before he signed, and I sort of asked the question about his hamstring injury, and they kind of intimated to me that maybe he's not as far off as people think. However, there were some people who were saying, "Oh yeah, he's miles away from playing, weeks, months away from playing. He's still carrying an injury, blah blah blah." So I don't know whether it was in reference to that. It's like he's not that far away, just a couple of weeks, or whether he will go with. Look, if Robertson's fit, Robertson plays. Simple as that. And look, I love Joe Rawls. I think he's going to be a real big player for us this year in certain games, certain situations. I think if Robertson's fit, Robertson starts. But I think realistically, he's probably not match fit. He's only had one training session with the team, or maybe 2 at the most. So I think it's Rawls. I think Rawls can do something in this game. Like, we need people who can look after the ball. I think Siopis is going to have to be that out and out central defensive midfielder to keep an eye on Joby Bellingham, to sweep up when Clark or Roberts are cutting in into these little pockets of space, cutting in off the wing. You need that defensive midfielder sweeping across and doing that. So we need Siopis to completely focus on that, which kind of leaves Joe Rawls to be that deep line playmaker. And Joe Rawls is very capable of something. I talked about it a lot last year. We didn't seem to have that player who could break the lines, who could get the ball to Ruben Caldwell or to Aaron Ramsey or to the wingers in the spaces before they come deep. But what we've got now is we have wingers who are not, I hope, going to cut back inside, go backwards and slow the play down. Chris Willock, if you give him the ball and he's isolated the fullback, he's going to look to beat the man and create something, whether that's go out on the outside and put a ball in, or cut inside and link up with the Ramsey and Robinson and get someone in behind. Very, very creative player, very expressive player. Just let him do his thing. But one thing he won't do is slow the game down, I hope. Same with O'Dowda. O'Dowda is more of a traditional winger, and I think he's going to go with experience for this first game of the season. But I do hope that the likes of Raheem Conte and Ruben Caldwell and maybe Louis Giles and Kay Pacquiao at times get lots of minutes. I really hope they do. But I think for this game, I think he goes O'Dowda left, Willock right, Ramsey, Robinson through the middle. I saw like some people in their predicted team sheets think he's going to play Mate. Look, I'd be really disappointed if we see and Mate up front. One, I'd be very disappointed if I was Callum Robertson, but I'd also be disappointed if we kind of go, if everything we've seen in terms of addressing some of the issues from last year in pre-season, I'd be very disappointed if the first game of the season we revert back to what we did last year. I want to see those high fullbacks, 5 across the front line, Siopis dropping into between the centre backs, Rawls, O'Dowda, Willock creating, linking up the play, Ramsey linking up the play, trying to get Callum Robertson in behind, high press out of possession, high line, high fullbacks in possession, moving the ball quick. And let me tell you something, right? It's going to be a jam-packed crowd in the Cardiff City Stadium tomorrow. If Cardiff City start fast and aggressive, that crowd will be bumping. If Cardiff City go into the first 5, 10, 15 minutes and try and just control the play, knock it side to side, keep possession of the ball, that crowd will just go quieter and quieter. So what we need to see is we need to see some tackles won, some high pressing, put Sunderland under pressure. It's difficult to go away in the Championship. So start the game fast, get the crowd up to it, and get it going, because I really believe that Cardiff can take 3. Like, I'd be honest, right? I'd take it. If you offered me a draw now, I'd take it. I would. Because in the Championship, any game you can lose, very simply. It's a brutal league. It's an unforgiving league. And it's a league which will destroy your optimism in a couple of weeks. So I don't want to lose my optimism. I don't want to lose my innocence. I don't want to lose my positivity just yet. The window's not even shut. So let's not lose that just yet. So let's make sure we start fast, play ball, let the likes of Chris Willock, let the likes of Callum O'Dowda, Aaron Ramsey, let them do their thing. And then when you've got 20 minutes to go, hopefully you're 2-0 up and you're cruising, you can bring on Alex Robertson for his debut, lifts the crowd, bring on Ruben Colwell and say, go on, Ruben, show us what you've got. And he can just go and express himself. Go and let these players play what they are capable of playing, because we have got a good and we've got a deep squad at the moment. There will be a few which move out. I hope it's not just all the youngsters moving out. That would be disappointing. I'd like to see a couple of these youngsters really involved in the first team and not just sat on the bench. I want to see them getting some minutes. In terms of the one to watch for Cardiff, it's an interesting one. But I think for the sake of positivity and optimism and excitement, I'm going to say my one to watch is Chris Willock, because on his day, he's a phenomenal footballer. I just hope that Errol Bullock can get consistency out of him, because if Errol Bullock gets consistency out of Chris Willock and he stays fit all season, then got a hell of a player there, a player who can create, can score, can do something out of nothing, something that we've kind of lacked. And also, second player to watch, Callum Robertson. Callum Robertson had a nightmare season from start to finish last year, and we did not see the proper version of him. I feel like he's got something to prove to others. I think he's got something to prove to himself. And I think that we'll see a real good version of Callum this year. I'm really excited by him. I think, and I also didn't even mention Kanga will be on the bench, I'd imagine, as well. Give him 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Hopefully we can give him time without the pressure of, looking for an equaliser or a winner. Hopefully we can be set up to start fast and score goals. Cardiff got to score goals from open play and not just set pieces this season. On paper, it looks like we've got the squad to do that now, especially when we bring in another striker as well. A little bit less pressure on Kanga and Robertson, but you've got Robertson, you've got Kanga. Obviously, Isaac Davis is injured. You've got Ruben Colwell, you've got Aaron Ramsey, you've got Chris Willock, you've got El Ghazi. I don't think people realise, by the way, as well, how good El Ghazi is. He's not going to be ready, fully fit and match fit and up to speed to start games for about a month. But we'll see him. Once he's back from his partner having this baby, he'll be on the bench and he'll be building up minutes bit by bit. But look, I've been lying. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Not only am I excited about this season, I'm excited by Alex Robertson. he is a real baller, aggressive, quality on the ball, scores goals, assists. But the thing I like, or the thing which excites me, maybe takes me from being excited, new signing, he's good, to being genuinely like, what's going to happen with this guy, is the guys that I've spoken to from Portsmouth fan channels described him as a generational talent. And they said that's not something that we would throw around easily. And they also said that it was he's the best Portsmouth player they've ever seen. Now, they're younger than me. Like, I think they're between like mid-20s, 30s. But like, look at some of the players who've played for Portsmouth over the years, and everybody says that he is just an unbelievable footballer. You look at also at, like, you speak to Villa fans, like Rob just said there, speak to Villa fans, when they were in the Championship, El Ghazi was unplayable. I'm honestly, like, with El Ghazi, once he's fit, my plan would be, if I was Bullet, and I'm not, but my plan if I was him, in fact, I would do the same for him and Ruben when they play off the right, is do what Warnock did with Tarat and just say, go do your thing, go express yourself, go and just play football, just be you, be that flair player. And then you tell the other players you've got to pick up a slack for them too. But I don't think they'll play a lot together. I think Ruben's going to play a bit off the right, a bit off the 10 when Ramsey needs a rest. I'm excited for the season. Let me know your predictions for the score tomorrow in the comments. Please put them in the comments on the video afterwards as well on YouTube. I would like to see as many predictions as possible. We're growing each day, each week, so please do make sure you subscribe to Cardiff City World, all that good stuff. We're going to be running some competitions soon as well for some tickets, hopefully. Just waiting for the company to get back to me, but there'll be away tickets as well, which is kind of exciting. Straight away there, a bit of confidence from Will, says 2-0 City. There is definitely an optimism around the place. On paper, we've done some good business. I do think we've got to, as fans, taper it a tiny bit. And I don't want to be that guy, because I do think you have to be a little bit patient, because apart from anything else, we're playing a completely different shape in possession. Anyone who's watched those preseason games, you can see we're playing like a 5 across the front in possession, 2 in midfield, then pulling the strings, and then Siopis dropping in with the centre backs, which is great to see. Also means that the manager's addressing some of the issues with style of play from last year. But tomorrow is a big one. First 20 minutes, I want to see Cardiff in their face and at them playing high intensity, fast football, because that sets the tone for the rest of the season, in my opinion. Because that'll be those people, and there's a few who are like on the fence about Bullet and then have come around a little bit because of the transfers work's been good. They, in that first 20 minutes, if it's like side, backwards, keep the ball, blah, 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 boring, slow, those ones who have been on the fence will kind of go, same old thing. Don't give them the ammunition. And look, I'm not criticizing those people, because as I said earlier, second half of the season was poor and it was difficult to watch us at times. But on paper, we look good. Now it's time to show it on the field. And I think there's a few players, by the way, starting tomorrow, playing tomorrow, whether it's Tanner, if he gets any minutes, Joe Rawls, some players who've got something to prove, to set their stall out and say, hang on a minute, just because Robertson's come in, just because El Ghazi's come in, or Willock's come in, or McGuinness, Chambers, fullback, whoever it is, just because they've come in, I'm still a player. I've still got something to do. I can contribute to this team. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see this season progress. Will Bullet be as stubborn? Will he be as tactically flexible as he was in the first sort of quarter of the season? As then it kind of went off when he felt like he was fighting for his job and he had to win every game. It's going to be real interesting. My prediction for tomorrow, I'm going to go with 2-1 Cardiff. I think I'd like to see us keep a clean sheet, but Sunderland, I really rate Bellingham and I really rate Jack Clark. And when you've got two outstanding players in one side, it's very difficult to stop them scoring. But I look at our side and I think we'll score at least 2. When I look at the side that I sort of guessed that you might pick. But then it's also the bench. You've got Robertson on the bench, Colwell on the bench, Tanner on the bench, Mate. There's someone else I'm forgetting as well. You know, got the youngsters, Raheem Conte, people like this off the bench. There's so much creativity and players who can score goals or create goals that I just can't see us not scoring, which means it's definitely going to be 0-0. Liam says 2-1 Cardiff as well. Good shout. Guys, preview shows are a bit shorter. Obviously, very, very happy. Thank you very much for joining me. If you see me and myself or the boys and people around over the weekend for the Cardiff games and stuff like that, come and say hello. We'll have a couple of vlogs. Pan's preview for tonight, for tomorrow's game will be out tomorrow morning, like at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's just like a short video. There'll be a couple of vlogs out, probably Sunday morning, hopefully Saturday night, but we'll see how we progress with that. I'll be back live Sunday night for the breakdown. It's Monday night with Paul Abandonato for the latest transfer news and latest news around the club. But most importantly, match reaction show with the Flower Hour tomorrow night, live Saturday evening, normally about 9, but they do on a Saturday, when the games are on, they do tend to move it around a bit. Sometimes it's earlier and it's on in the afternoon, evening. I'll speak to the boys and we'll let you know. 12:30 kickoff, so you never know. But look out for that. Match reaction tomorrow, Flower Hour. Pan's the Greek League's prediction in the morning. If you want to talk about some more football, I'm jumping over on Ace Podcast Nation now with Rhodri Giggs to do championship predictions as well as talking all the latest news from the world of football. But until then, I bid you farewell. I will see you Sunday. The boys will see you tomorrow. Come on, a City.